Hey everyone, welcome to The Changeover, your favorite home for unfiltered, deep dive tennis talk. We have a massive show today because Cincinnati is absolutely melting down. We're talking Novak Djokovic falling in 3 sets to Thiago Agustín Tirante under some brutal, humid conditions, and Rafael Jódar pulling off an absolute miracle escape against Denis Shapovalov. Plus, we've got some hard-court grinding action from Indiana to talk about. I'm Elena Cruz, your resident spreadsheet nerd, and today's episode is powered by secondserveaces.com. Joining me is our brilliant existentialist poet Arthur Vance, the grittiest fitness guru on the planet Leo Sterling, our academic historian Julian Price, and our beloved editor-in-chief Bhaskar. Let's get right into it.
Oh, we are diving straight into the deep end today, Elena. My inbox has been absolutely smoking since yesterday afternoon.
It should be smoking, Bhaskar. What we saw in Cincinnati was a physical capitulation, plain and simple.
It was more like a slow, humid dissolution of the self. The rain outside our studio right now, it feels very appropriate for the mood.
Arthur, please, let us not get bogged down in the weather before we even address the historical anomaly of the scoreline.
Like seriously, Julian is right. Let's look at Article 1. Tirante defeats Novak Djokovic 2-6, 6-4, 6-4. Novak won the first set easily, and then the wheels just came off.
It's a massive headline on secondserveaces.com. The comment section is going wild. People are asking if this is the end of the era or if the heat was just too much.
Look, heat illness is no joke, but Novak has survived some of the most brutal Australian Open furnaces in history. What I saw yesterday,
Yes, Leo.
it was a check his body just couldn't cash. The humidity in Cincy was heavy. It sits on your chest like a wet blanket.
Right, but my model showed Novak's first serve percentage dropped by like 15% after the first set. He was struggling to breathe, sure, but his depth disappeared.
That is the crucial point, Elena. Novak's entire defensive geometry relies on depth. If he is hitting short, he becomes vulnerable to someone with Tirante's heavy clay court-style topspin.
Wait, explain that to the audience, Julian. Why does Tirante benefit from a short ball more than others?
Well, Tirante can step in and dictate. He has that classic South American clay court swing, big, loopy, but heavy. If Novak can't push him back, Tirante has all the time in the world to set up.
It was like watching a monument slowly being reclaimed by the jungle. Novak's movement, usually so liquid, so precise, became jagged.
Exactly, Arthur. He was bent over his racket between every single point. But let's not take credit away from Tirante. The kid stayed cool.
Like, totally. Most players would panic when they see Novak on the other side, even a sick Novak. But Tirante just kept hitting his spots.
I mean, I would panic if I saw Novak across the net, even if he was in a wheelchair. But Tirante kept his composure in those last 2 sets.
It is a testament to modern coaching, perhaps, or perhaps simply the fearlessness of youth. But we must discuss the physical preparation. Leo, you've trained players in these conditions.
You have to hydrate 3 days in advance, Julian. You can't just chug water on the changeover. Once the core temperature spikes, you're done. Your brain tells your muscles to slow down to protect your organs.
A biological mutiny. The mind wishes to conquer, but the liver says no.
Okay, let's not get too graphic about Novak's liver, Arthur. But seriously, this opens up the Cincinnati draw in a crazy way.
It really does. And if you want the full breakdown of how Tirante's tactical adjustments worked, you have to go to secondserveaces.com. Our writers did a brilliant post-match analysis with actual heat maps of Novak's movement.
The tactical depth on secondserveaces.com is truly unparalleled. It is not just simple reporting, it is actual tennis theory.
Yeah, their AI-driven analysis actually shows how Tirante changed his return positioning in the second set. It's fascinating stuff.
Totally. But speaking of drama, can we talk about Article 2? Because Rafael Jódar and Denis Shapovalov, like, what even was that match?
Oh, this one was pure chaos. Jódar was down 1-5 in the third set, saved 2 match points.
Shapovalov's tennis is often like a beautiful, tragic poem, where the author suddenly forgets how to spell in the final chapter.
It is a recurring tragedy, Arthur, to be up 5-1 with 2 match points and to lose 7-5. It requires a specific kind of mental fragility.
It's fitness too, Julian. When you're trying to close out a match, your heart rate spikes. If you don't have the aerobic base to keep your hands steady, your serve goes to pieces. And Shapovalov's double faults.
Oh, the double faults were painful. Like my spreadsheet was just crying. He had 3 double faults in one game when serving for the match.
But what about Jódar? Let's give some credit to the kid. He's young, he's hungry, and he didn't give up.
There is a certain freedom in being down 1-5. The expectation of defeat releases the soul from the prison of tension.
Indeed. He started swinging with absolute freedom. But there was also some controversy, wasn't there? A disputed line call in the final games.
Yeah, there was a huge argument at 5-5. Denis was like totally furious with the chair umpire. He lost his focus completely after that.
That's what separates the champions from the journeymen, Elena. You can't let a bad call ruin your entire service game. You have to lock back in.
Easy to say, Leo, but when you're dripping sweat and the referee misses a ball that was clearly out, it's hard not to lose your mind.
The court is a stage, and sometimes the actors must rage against the script.
Well, the script for Denis is unfortunately all too familiar. He has the talent of a top 5 player, but the tactical discipline of a junior.
Like, totally. If he wants to fix this, he needs to go back to basics. Maybe a stint in the challengers to build some character.
Exactly, Elena. I have been saying this for years. A few weeks playing in cold, windy clay courts in Northern Europe would do wonders for his humility and his shot selection.
He wouldn't survive a week, Julian. He's too used to the luxury of the main tour.
Well, speaking of grinding, let's look at Article 3. Lloyd Harris just won the inaugural Indiana Hardcourt Championships. He beat Andre Ilagan 6-2, 7-6.
Ah, Indiana. The flat landscapes, the quiet determination of the Midwest. Harris is a player of great, silent power.
Yeah, his serve was absolutely on fire. He was down in the second set, but managed to claw his way back and win the tiebreak 8-6.
Lloyd Harris has been through major injuries. To see him back on the hard courts, winning titles, even at this level, shows real mental toughness. That shoulder recovery is no joke.
It is a very solid stepping stone for him. The Indiana tournament might be new, but the competition was fierce. Ilagan put up a tremendous fight in that second set.
It's great to see Harris back in the winner's circle. We actually have a feature article on his comeback journey live on secondserveaces.com right now. It goes into detail about his physical rehab.
Like, definitely check that out. His serving metrics are actually returning to his pre-injury levels, which is super encouraging for his fans.
A resurrection of sorts. The shoulder, once broken, now launches the yellow sphere with violent grace once more.
You have a very poetic way of describing a 130-mile-per-hour serve, Arthur.
Well, that's why we love him. Alright guys, we have so much more to cover in the next segment, including the rest of the Cincinnati draw. Stay tuned.
Oh my god, you guys. Speaking of silent power, we have to talk about Iga Świątek absolutely dismantling Elena Rybakina in Toronto. Like 6-2, 6-3 in a WTA 1000 final? That is just ridiculous.
Seriously, Elena. The traffic on secondserveaces.com was absolutely spiking during that second set. Our readers in the comments were losing their minds over how easily Iga was neutralizing Rybakina's massive first serve.
It was a masterclass in geometric positioning, really. Świątek was standing almost a meter further back than usual on the return, giving herself those vital extra milliseconds to track the trajectory. It was quite academic.
It wasn't just positioning, Julian. It was pure, unadulterated physical conditioning. Iga's lateral movement on those hard courts is just brutal. She looks like she's sliding on clay. Her core stability is so high. Rybakina simply ran out of answers.
There is a certain existential dread in facing Świątek when she is in that zone. It is as if the court shrinks for her opponent. Every ball Rybakina hit, no matter how deep, how heavy, seemed to find its way back, like a yellow felt pendulum that refuses to rest.
Okay, Arthur, calm down with the pendulum stuff. But looking at my spreadsheet, the real statistical anomaly here was Rybakina's unforced error count on the forehand wing. It was up 40% compared to her semifinal match.
Why do you think that was, Elena? Was it just Iga's depth forcing those errors, or did Rybakina's shoulder start tightening up under the pressure?
It was totally both. Iga was hitting these heavy, high topspin balls to Elena's backhand, and then when Rybakina tried to bail out down the line with her forehand, she was just hitting the tape, like she couldn't get under the ball at all.
That's the physical toll of playing Iga. She forces you to hit that extra ball. Your legs get heavy, your breath gets shallow, and suddenly that forehand you were ripping in the first round is hitting the bottom of the net. It's a check your body just can't cash.
Well, regardless of the physical toll, this win puts Świątek back at world number 5, a highly respectable ascent after a somewhat turbulent season. It restores a sense of proper order to the rankings, don't you think?
Order is a temporary illusion, Julian, especially as we look toward the Ohio River. The rain outside our window right now, it feels very much like the storm brewing in the Cincinnati draws. The withdrawals have left the men's field completely fractured.
Oh, the Cincinnati article on secondserveaces.com is doing massive numbers right now. People are debating whether Taylor Fritz or Stefanos Tsitsipas can actually capitalize on this shaken-up draw.
Fritz has the tools, but does he have the mental grit? If he wants to win a Masters 1000 on home soil, he has to stop playing defensive tennis when he's up a break. He needs to channel that 80s aggression, get to the net, finish the point.
Yeah, because coming to the net on these fast Cincinnati courts against someone like Tsitsipas is totally a walk in the park, Leo. Stefanos' passing shots are actually insane when he has time to wind up his forehand.
Indeed. The court speed in Cincinnati has historically favored the more traditional, linear ball strikers. Tsitsipas, with his sweeping eastern grip on the forehand, can really penetrate the court if he finds his rhythm early in the week.
I find myself wondering about the psychological weight on Fritz. Playing in front of a home crowd, it is a beautiful, terrifying theater. Every cheer is a demand. Every hush is a judgment. Can he transcend that, or will he crumble under the expectation?
I think he'll be fine, Arthur. He's got that big serve to bail him out. But wait, we also have a massive matchup on the women's side in Cincy. Coco Gauff versus Lyudmila Samsonova. That is a blockbuster for a day 4 match.
Oh my god, yes. Samsonova is like the ultimate disruptor. If her flat ground strokes are landing, she can literally hit anyone off the court. But Gauff's defense is just next level. It's going to be such a contrast in styles.
Gauff's movement is her shield, but she can't just run all day in the Cincinnati humidity. She has to find depth with her return. If she leaves the ball short, Samsonova will just punish her. It's all about who controls the baseline from the very first strike.
Samsonova's tactical variability is often her downfall, though. She tends to lack a plan B when her power game misfires. If Gauff can weather the initial storm, the match should tilt in her favor. It is a test of patience versus raw power.
A storm indeed, much like the one currently painting our studio window gray. Let us hope the players find their shelter in the lines of the court.
Needs to stop playing like he's afraid of his own shadow, honestly. But speaking of guys who are absolutely not afraid of their own shadow.
Oh, you mean Ben Shelton? Because the kid just absolutely lit up Montreal.
Yes, literally. He just took down Brandon Nakashima 6-3, 7-6 in the final. And my spreadsheets are totally smoking from his serve metrics.
He didn't just serve him off the court, Elena. He bullied him. He brought that raw, unadulterated energy that Brandon just couldn't match.
Let us not get carried away with the theatrics, Leo. Tactically speaking, Shelton's slice serve wide in the ad court was the real architect of this victory.
It was almost balletic, wasn't it? The way Ben launches his entire physical being into the air. It's like he's trying to escape gravity itself for a split second.
Arthur is getting poetic again. But look, as a fan, that second set tie break was pure tension. 7-4 in the breaker. Nakashima didn't play a bad match at all.
Totally. Brandon was like super solid from the baseline, but his return position was just way too passive against Ben's kick serve.
You can't stand back against a guy who is throwing down 140-mile-an-hour bombs. You've got to step up. Take the time away. Nakashima let him dictate.
Indeed. A classic case of tactical hesitation. If you read our breakdown on secondserveaces.com, which our subscribers should absolutely do right now, you'll see the heat maps.
Yes, the heat maps on secondserveaces.com show exactly how Shelton kept Nakashima guessing by changing the ball's axis of rotation. It's brilliant stuff.
It makes one wonder, is Shelton's game becoming more cerebral? Or is it still just beautiful, chaotic instinct?
I think it's like a mix of both. He's starting to understand tempo. He isn't just going for the highlight reel on every single shot anymore.
That's the coaching, Elena. That's the grind. He's realizing that sometimes a heavy, deep ball down the middle is better than a low-percentage line licker.
Well, speaking of tactical maturity, we must pivot to Toronto. The contrast between Iga Świątek and Elena Rybakina was a masterclass in physics.
Oh, the 6-2, 6-3 match? Świątek just completely smothered her. It was almost painful to watch Rybakina's flat shots getting eaten up.
Oh my god, totally. Iga's topspin in Toronto is like a cheat code. The ball jumps so high out of Elena's strike zone.
It's like trying to hit a tennis ball that has suddenly decided to become a bird. It swoops, it dives, and then it explodes off the court.
Rybakina's flat firepower is deadly when she's on, but Świątek's movement? Unbelievable. She was sliding on hard courts like it was clay, absorbing everything.
And that is the core of the matchup. Rybakina needs rhythm. She needs the ball at a comfortable hip height. Świątek systematically deprives her of that comfort.
The commentators were saying Rybakina looked tired, but honestly, Iga's depth was just relentless. Our tactical piece on secondserveaces.com actually highlighted Świątek's average RPMs.
Exactly, Dad. I mean, Julian and Bhaskar. The RPMs on Iga's forehand were averaging over 3,000. That's like Nadal territory on a fast court.
I shall accept the title of Dad if it means we respect the geometry of the heavy topspin, Elena.
Listen to the rain outside. It's a bit like Rybakina's tournament, a storm of power that eventually got dampened by the persistent, clay-like heavy air of Świątek's defense.
But wait, we can't just talk about Rybakina losing. What about her match before that? The comeback against Naomi Osaka was absolute insanity.
Oh, the 4-6, 7-6, 6-4 match? That was easily one of the best matches of the summer.
Like, literally flawless serving from Rybakina in the third set. 18 for 18 on first serves. Who even does that?
18 consecutive first serves in a deciding set against a four-time Grand Slam champion. That is not just skill. That is supreme mental fortitude.
It's a quiet defiance. Osaka was playing with such ancestral fury, hitting the cover off the ball, and Rybakina just stood there, serving like a machine.
That's what I'm talking about. That is physical and mental peak performance. Osaka had her on the ropes after that first set, but Elena didn't panic.
It's crazy because Naomi's return game has looked so sharp lately, but when someone is hitting the lines at 120 miles per hour with zero variance, what can you do?
You like, pray? Honestly. Naomi was standing inside the baseline trying to block it back, but the ball was just too heavy.
It was a fascinating tactical chess match. Osaka tried to exploit Rybakina's movement by going wide, but Elena's reach is simply phenomenal.
A clash of titans under the gray Canadian skies. Truly remarkable.
18 for 18 on first serves is wild. But speaking of crazy serving dynamics, we have to talk about how Iga Świątek completely flipped her tactical formula to get past Alina Svitolina in that Toronto semifinal.
Oh, the 6-3, 1-6, 6-3 match. Our readers on secondserveaces.com were losing their minds in the comments during that second set. It looked like Iga was completely falling apart.
It was a temporary lapse in her geometric positioning, Bhaskar. Svitolina was dragging her extremely wide on the forehand side, exposing the grip transition.
Look, it wasn't just geometry, Julian. It was pure, unadulterated physical output. Svitolina was absolutely redlining in that second set. She was hitting the ball with a depth that Iga simply couldn't absorb.
It was like watching a painter suddenly realize the canvas has its own ideas. Iga, in that second set, looked momentarily displaced from her own narrative. The rain drumming on our studio roof right now, it has that same relentless, unpredictable rhythm.
Like, totally. But if you look at the actual data on secondserveaces.com, Iga adjusted her return position in the third. She backed up almost 2 meters.
Yes, I was editing the match report and noticed that her average return impact point shifted dramatically. It gave her that extra microsecond to deal with Elena's kick.
A highly sensible tactical retreat. By giving herself more time, she neutralized Svitolina's first strike advantage. It is basic physics, really. The velocity of the ball decreases over distance.
But you still have to execute. You can talk about backing up all you want, but if you don't have the leg strength to explode forward and cover the short ball, you're dead in the water. Iga's physical conditioning under pressure is just supreme.
There is a certain poetry to her movement when she is in balance. The sliding on hard courts, it is almost an act of defiance against friction itself.
Okay, Arthur, calm down with the friction poetry. But Julian, you have to admit, Francisco Roig's influence is already showing here. The court positioning changes are very Rafa-esque.
I shall ignore the dad moniker, Elena, but yes, the Spanish influence is undeniable. The depth of her heavy topspin in that deciding set was designed to push Svitolina back to the advertising hoardings.
And it worked, 6-3 in the third. But let's talk about what that setup led to, because the final against Elena Rybakina was a completely different beast. A dominant 6-2, 6-3 win to take the Canadian Open title.
Dominant is the word. That was a statement match. 11 months without a title, and she just dismantled Rybakina. It was a physical masterclass.
The drought is over. 11 months of wandering in the desert, metaphorically speaking. And she ends it in Toronto with such clinical precision.
Like the match wasn't even as close as the score suggests. Rybakina looked completely out of ideas by the end of the first set. Iga was just eating up her second serve.
Rybakina's serve is her primary weapon, but when the first serve percentage drops below 55%, as it did in the first set, she becomes highly vulnerable. Iga was stepping in and taking the ball on the rise.
I love when our secondserveaces.com analytics dashboard shows the heat maps for return positions. Iga was practically standing inside the baseline on Rybakina's second deliveries.
She was hunting them. That's the mentality of a champion. You smell blood, you step up. You don't wait for them to hand you the match, you take it.
It must be incredibly demoralizing for Rybakina to have such a formidable weapon, a serve that usually dictates the terms of existence on court, rendered so utterly ineffective.
Exactly, and Roig has clearly worked on Iga's own serve. It was much more reliable. She wasn't giving away those cheap break points that used to plague her during the clay-to-hard transition.
The toss was consistently 6 inches lower, which prevented the wind from disrupting her rhythm. A minor technical adjustment with massive psychological dividends.
Speaking of psychological dividends and absolute drama, we have to cross the border over to Montreal. Ben Shelton. My goodness.
That was a war. That is what I want to see from the young guys. Blood on the court, literally. He took a nasty fall, got patched up, and just kept hammering.
The fall against Lerner Tien It was a sudden, jarring reminder of our own fragility. One moment you are floating, the next you are sliding across the concrete, leaving a trail of red.
Arthur, you're making it sound like a horror movie. It was a scraped knee, but it did look pretty painful. The medical timeout took forever.
The modern hard courts are essentially sandpaper. A slip at that speed is bound to cause superficial damage. But what impressed me was his focus afterward. He didn't let the interruption break his momentum.
He really didn't. He came back out and served like an absolute demon. A 78% first serve win rate against a returner as crafty as Lerner Tien is no joke.
Tien is a wall. He makes you hit 3 extra balls every rally. For Shelton to stay disciplined after that fall, keep his feet moving, and win 6-2, 6-3, that shows real mental growth.
Totally. Old Ben would have tried to overhit everything after getting frustrated by the injury. This time, he actually used his slice to transition into the net. It was super smart.
The slice backhand is becoming a legitimate utility tool for him rather than just a defensive emergency measure. It keeps the ball low, which is death for a player of Tien's flatter stroke production.
It is the evolution of a predator. Learning that brute force is not the only way to capture the prey. Sometimes, a soft touch is far more lethal.
Well, whatever he's doing, it's working. He's into the Montreal final now. Our traffic on secondserveaces.com for the Shelton match reports has been off the charts today.
Because people want to see grit. They want to see a guy bleed for the win and still serve at 140 miles per hour. That's tennis, mate.
Speaking of painful things, did you guys see what happened to Aryna Sabalenka in Toronto? My spreadsheet was practically smoking after that match.
Oh, the Alexandrova upset. That was absolutely wild. The comment section on secondserveaces.com went completely mental when that final ball went out.
It was a storm. Quite literally, given the weather outside our window today. But on court, Ekaterina was like a lightning rod. She just stood there, absorbing Aryna's thunder and sending it right back into the corners.
She didn't just absorb it, Arthur. She took the fight to her. You don't beat Sabalenka by playing passive tennis. You've got to hit the ball with bad intentions, and Alexandrova was absolutely redlining her flat ground strokes.
Even Chris Evert was singing her praises on the broadcast. She noted how low Alexandrova keeps her center of gravity. It is a very classical, clean technique that doesn't break down under immense pace.
Right, but Sabalenka's double faults came back at the worst possible times. In that first set tiebreak, it was like she completely lost her radar. My data shows her second serve win percentage dropped to 28% in that stretch.
28%? I think my local club double partner has better stats than that on a windy Sunday morning.
That's the physical toll of Toronto, though. The humidity there makes the ball heavy. If you aren't fully loaded on your legs, that serve just sails. Sabalenka looked tired. Her intensity dipped after she won the second set.
There is a certain tragedy in Sabalenka's style. It requires absolute, unblemished confidence. The moment a shadow of doubt creeps in, even a tiny one, the whole machinery of her game starts to clank and groan.
Well, Alexandrova certainly exploited those creaks. 7-6, 4-6, 6-4. A thoroughly absorbing contest, though I must say, Sabalenka's tactical adjustments in the second set were far too brief.
Yeah, she tried to mix in those heavy topspin loops to Alexandrova's backhand, which, worked for about 3 games. But then Ekaterina just started taking them on the rise. It was so clean.
We actually have a great tactical breakdown of those exact return positions over on secondserveaces.com. Our AI-driven analysis shows Alexandrova was standing almost half a meter closer to the baseline than usual.
Exactly! That's how you take time away from a giant. You don't let them dictate. You step up, take the ball early, and make them move their big frame. Sabalenka hates being rushed.
Speaking of things that are rushed, or perhaps not rushed enough, we must address the absolute bombshell of the week. The Marketa Vondrousova tribunal details.
Oh my God, Dad, don't even get me started on this. 58 pages. I actually read the whole PDF last night while listening to the rain. It is wild.
Wait, 58 pages? What did they even put in there? I saw the headline on our site, but I haven't had the chance to dive into the full text yet.
It is a fascinating, if rather tragic, piece of legal writing. The tribunal detailed a text message she sent to her boyfriend, which completely undermined her defense. She claimed she took the substance for anxiety, but the timelines simply did not align.
A 4-year ban. That is basically a career ender for a player at her level. You can't just take 4 years off in your prime and expect to come back. The game moves too fast. The physical drop-off is a hill you can't climb.
It feels almost Shakespearean. A Wimbledon champion, someone who reached the very peak of our little tennis universe, brought down not by a legendary rival on center court, but by a digital trace, a text message floating in the ether.
Like, the text message literally said she was feeling fine and didn't mention any anxiety until after the positive test came back. The tribunal was just like, yeah, we don't believe this defense at all. It was brutal.
The anti-doping program must maintain its rigor. If we allow anxiety as a blanket excuse without rigorous, pre-existing medical documentation, the entire system of testing falls apart. It is a matter of institutional integrity.
It's tough though. The pressure on these players is immense. I'm not excusing it, obviously, but you can see how someone gets desperate when their body or mind starts breaking down under the grind.
If you're anxious, you talk to the tour doctors, Bhaskar. You get a TUE, a therapeutic use exemption. You don't just order things off the internet and hope nobody notices. That's not pressure. That's just poor decision-making.
The isolation of the professional player is a silent specter. You are alone, in hotel rooms, staring at the ceiling, wondering if your career is slipping away. It makes the mind do strange things.
Totally, but like, a 4-year ban is the standard penalty for a non-specified substance when you can't prove lack of intent. The rules are super clear. If you want the full breakdown of the 58 pages, our legal expert wrote an amazing piece on secondserveaces.com.
Let us pivot to some actual tennis. Alina Svitolina's tactical masterclass in Toronto. She has extended her WTA 1,000 winning streak to 10 matches. Quite remarkable.
Yes. Overcoming a set deficit to beat her opponent and set up that massive semi-final with Iga Świątek. Svitolina is playing some of the smartest tennis of her career right now.
She's gritty, mate. That 3-6, 6-0, 6-3 scoreline tells you everything. She got blown off the court in the first set, adjusted her return position, and started making it a physical battle. She dragged her opponent into deep water.
Her backhand down the line was like absolutely lethal in the second and third sets. My tracking data showed she hit 7 winners off that wing alone after the first set. Before that, 0.
It was a shift in geometry. Svitolina stopped trying to hit through the court and started creating these beautiful looping angles that forced her opponent to run laterally. It was like watching a chess player slowly taking control of the center files.
And now we get Świątek. That is the ultimate test of tactical flexibility. Świątek's heavy topspin on these Toronto courts is a nightmare to handle. But Svitolina has the defensive capabilities to make it interesting.
Svitolina has to stay aggressive. If she just runs and defends, Iga will eat her alive. She's got to use that transition game we saw in the third set today.
Well, whatever happens, I know where I'll be checking the live stats and post-match analysis. Make sure you all head over to secondserveaces.com for our complete coverage of the Toronto semi-finals. And speaking of the full breakdown on secondserveaces.com, we have to transition to the actual courts where these equipment and tactical gambles are playing out right now.
Oh, totally. Like, let's talk about Jack Draper. He is literally changing his entire racket setup right before the Cincinnati Open. It is like a massive risk.
A risk indeed, Elena. To alter one's implement of trade mid-season is akin to a violinist changing bows before a major concerto. It speaks of a certain Desperation, perhaps?
Desperation? Or survival, Julian? Look, his body has been issuing checks his physicality simply couldn't cash over the last year. If a lighter swing weight or a different stiffness rating saves his shoulder, he has to do it.
It is the eternal search for the extension of the self. The racket is not mere graphite, is it? It is a lightning rod. When Draper swings, he is trying to capture lightning without shattering his own bones.
Well, my bad backhand doesn't care about swing weight, but for a pro hitting at those speeds, even a 2-gram difference in the hoop is massive. The comments on secondservaces.com are already debating if this is a sign of panic.
No, Julian, it's not like he's just panic shopping at a local sporting goods store. My mom actually texted me about this. She said when you change specs, your timing on the run goes completely off for at least 3 weeks.
She's spot on. Your muscle memory is calibrated to the millisecond. You go out there in the Cincinnati humidity, the ball is flying, and suddenly you're pulling the ball wide because the frame is flexing differently.
And his first-round opponent will exploit that mercilessly. In Cincinnati, the court speed demands immediate, decisive contact. There is no time for existential calibration, Arthur.
But isn't all of tennis an existential calibration, Julian? The rain tapping on our studio window right now. It reminds me of the damp courts where these players must find their footing, regardless of the tool in their hand.
Let's look at the data on this. Elena, did your models look at his head-to-head metrics with this potential new setup? Or is it too early to tell?
So, the numbers show that Draper's first serve percentage drops by nearly 8% when he's struggling with shoulder fatigue. If this new racket reduces the strain, even a slight loss in control is statistically worth it.
It's a trade-off. I'd rather see him hit with 10% less power and actually finish the tournament than watch him retire in the second round because his arm is hanging by a thread.
One wonders if a brief stint in the challenger circuit, a bit of character building on the lower tiers, might have served him better than tinkering with his equipment on the big stage.
Dad, seriously? A challenger stint for Draper right now? He needs match play against the best, not bus rides in the middle of nowhere.
I'm with Elena on this one. But hey, speaking of transitions to Cincinnati, what about Arthur Ferry? He's trying to translate that grass court success over to the hard courts of Ohio.
Ah, young Ferry. A delightful player to watch. He moves like a whisper on grass. But hard courts, they are relentless. They do not forgive. They do not absorb the weight. They throw it back at you.
Exactly. On grass, you can use the slice, you can stay low, the points are short. In Cincinnati, James Duckworth is going to make him run. Duckworth is an absolute dog on these courts. He's going to test Ferry's lungs.
Right, and if you look at the tactical preview on secondservaces.com, Ferry's win rate on return points drops significantly on high-bouncing hard courts. He struggles to generate pace when the ball is up in his strike zone.
It is the classic British dilemma, isn't it? Cultivated on the low-bouncing, slick lawns, only to find the high, gritty bounce of North American concrete entirely alien.
Is there a way for Ferry to counter that? Can he use his net rushing skills to take time away, even on a hard court?
He has to. If he stands 3 feet behind the baseline and tries to trade heavy topspin with Duckworth, he's dead in the water. He's got to chip, charge, and make it ugly.
To make it ugly is a beautiful thing in its own right. It is the triumph of will over aesthetic. Though I do hope he retains some of that poetic court coverage we saw at Wimbledon.
Well, poetry doesn't get you ranking points, Arthur. But his transition game is actually super clean. If he can get to the net before Duckworth locks him into those cross-court backhand exchanges, he has a decent shot.
Let us not forget that Duckworth is highly experienced in these conditions. He understands the wind, the humidity, the specific speed of the court. Experience is a silent partner in these opening rounds.
This is why we love the Cincinnati qualifying and early rounds. The clashes of styles are just fascinating. But let's shift gears north of the border to Toronto, where Coco Gauff just put on an absolute clinic against Alina Korneva.
And that's a wrap for this week. Head to secondserveaces.com for the full deep dives on every match we covered today.
See you next time on The Changeover. Cheers.